So common issues that we see are knowing the rules of appraisal. It's important to, especially when choosing an appraiser or an appraisal firm to work with, um, make sure that they know the rules of appraisal, right? And a lot of people will say, or a lot of appraisers uh, will say that certain things are coverage, or you can't speak about policy, which is not true. You can't speak about policy and appraisal, and it's, we're just here to appraise the cost. And these are just not factual items. The appraisal panel is bound to the appraisal clause found within the policy and any state statutes that are relevant, and that is it, nothing else. So nowhere in the appraisal clause does it say that the appraisal panel cannot discuss the language within the policy. They would have to, because the appraisal clause falls inside of the policy. So we run into this all the time. It's a common thing. So just making sure that the appraiser that you're working with understands the rules of appraisal and where those come from, the statutes that are relevant to it, and that they're working towards improving that skill set. The appraiser should be aware of policy provisions and limitations. Again, back to the the Allstate example of Allstate just mostly not allowing or not having ordinance and law coverage or building code coverage in their policies. And that's just because their customers save money and they don't opt for them when the agent sells the policy. Most of the time is what the case is. But some policies will limit ordinance and law coverage, or will have a matching endorsement that limits coverage, or just different parts of the policy. So having an appraiser that is aware of policy, is aware of potential co-insurance penalties and different issues that may arise, so that they can avoid them when putting together the appraisal award, and can set the policyholder up for the best position on the back end. Denial letters, again, reviewing all letters that have been sent out prior to going into appraisal or demanding appraisal is very important, so that these letters can be addressed or potentially overturned prior to the implementation of appraisal. This should say award, but how to write an appraisal award. And it's really important to have specific language in the appraisal award. One of those is that 100% of the appraisal award is related to the amount of loss on the date of loss. In that way, the carrier has a harder time picking and choosing what parts of the award they're going to pay out or not, if that ends up being the case. A lot of appraisers will get into the bad habit of, hey, let's make a deal to get this off our plate. It's not how appraisals should go. This is a detailed process and should be estimated and negotiated in that manner. If you're at 70,000 and we're at 30,000, and meeting somewhere in the middle is just a bad way to do business. Understanding the spread. If your spread is small, potentially refuting the appraisal and just saying, hey, this is, not a good one or ripe for appraisal due to the small spread between, the insurance company's estimate and ours. Setting expectations on timeline and fees, talking to the appraiser that you're working with and just asking him of like, hey, what's your expected timeline? It's $1 million loaded question. And what's the expectations on fees? What can we expect here? You may not be able to set an exact amount because it's based hourly, but are we looking, potentially $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 in fees, depending on the size of the loss? And trying not to set poor expectations, not just between the appraiser and the contractor, but also with the insured or the policyholder. Because if it gets 4 months down the road, their appraisal is still not resolved, they could get a little frantic, and you don't want that to happen. It's just bad for everybody. So making sure that you're setting really good expectations.